everybody, and welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and getting sicker. And today, as you can see from the scroll and from the banner, it has been announced by a group, a bunch of groups, one in particular called Indivisible, that on June 14th, this Saturday, also Flag Day, there will be a nationwide protest in defiance of Donald Trump and the actions that are taking, or the deportations that are taking place, or at least trying to be taking place across the country. This is, in particular, this is called the No King protest. The protests are going to be called a nationwide day of defiance. And according to event organizers, dozens of grassroots groups are organizing the nationwide protest. One of the founders of this group called Indivisible is a guy named Ezra Levin. That's a nice Christian name, ain't it? He told Newsweek in an article that I read that the goal of the protest is to send a message that the United States has no king amid Trump's military parade in the nation's capital, which coincides with the president's 79th birthday. Quote, he's planning to roll tanks through the streets of D.C. in celebration of his birthday, and that's the kind of thing you normally wouldn't see in a constitutional republic, certainly not America. It's something you'd see in North Korea or other authoritative regimes. Now, okay, it's kind of megalomaniac timing. If you ask me, Trump's birthday is the 14th, and it's Flag Day, and he's having this military thing. Now, in fairness, Trump, he does want to turn the entire month of June into a veterans celebration thing, these months are dedicated to certain things, like Black History Month is February, which is ridiculous. He wants to do that for the veterans. And you know what? Why not? Why not? Some of these guys gave the ultimate sacrifice for it. Let them have a month. Forget about a day. Have them have a month. But the selfish brats that are these protesters, who they don't, and let me tell you this. They could give two shits about these illegals that are in this country. They could give two shits about these people. They don't care. This is a reason to riot. This is a reason to protest. They just want to throw any type of shade on Trump as much as they can. They want to send a message to leaders and to institutions who are considering whether to stand their ground and fight back on these on these protests and on this immigration policy. They're calling it Trump's military day parade. Now the army has come out and said that this is not Trump's a celebration for Trump's birthday. And we know it's not. I mean, that would be ridiculous. But local organizers and these leaders of these movements, these activists across the country, will all come together and march and riot and protest and cause destruction and havoc around every city. Well, at least they're going to try to hit every city in America. And if you could see that map that I put up here, thanks to Axos, courtesy of them, you can see there's a lot of blue in a lot of the Northeast. There's a lot of blue in California. There's a lot of blue up in the Northwest. And there's some blue in the Michigan area, Ohio area, Western Pennsylvania, even Florida. This could get ugly very, very quickly, or it could be a dud. I don't think so. I think that you have so many of these people who just want to get out of the house and cause destruction for no good reason. Now, we have a First Amendment right that says you have freedom of speech. You have the right to protest your government, to protect your country. That's what the whole that's what this it's all about. But are these protests or are these riots? Because what we're seeing right now in Los Angeles, what we're seeing right now in California, is we're seeing riots. There's looting, there's rock throwing at cops and ICE agents. You have reporters, cameramen, photographers being assaulted. That's not a peaceful protest. You're doing more harm to your image than good, especially when you're waving El Salvadorian flags and Mexican flags and flags from all these different places where these migrants are illegal. It doesn't do you any good to be violent and to scream and yell that this is your country, that the citizens of the United States and Donald Trump have no right to ask you to come here, if you're going to come here legally and pay your taxes and follow the rules and regulations and the laws of this country. It's not your country. It doesn't belong to you. It's not for everybody. And the sense of entitlement by these people is absurd. And this widespread movement, as we all know, just by the name of the one of the co-founders of this Indivisible group, we all know who's behind this. Old Georgie Porgy. He is the one who mobilizes, has the money for it, puts the money out, and he just loves to burn the United States or the Western world. He hates Christian Catholic countries. He hates Western philosophy. He hates anything that is not communist, anything that is not UE. He loves the destruction of the Western world. How this guy hasn't been sent to the hereafter, I don't know. Why the Western countries allow this guy to manipulate their markets and cause this havoc in their streets, I don't know. But what I'm thinking on Saturday is, it's so widespread that it's even in not in my little town. My little town, there's nothing ever goes on. But in a nearby town, about 20 minutes away from me, they have a location where they're going to organize and set up. Now, when you think about going to these things, you have to ask yourself a question, especially if you're a young man or a man. Is this the right thing for me to do? Am I a follower or am I a leader? Or you can be neither. They got this thing called a Sigma male that, walks to the beat of his own drum. You could be that too, and that's even better, frankly. But why in the world would you follow these morons? Why in the world would you ever want to go and just destroy your own town or somebody else's town? Possibly getting yourself arrested, maybe getting yourself killed, ruining your life. Because these protests or these riots serve no purpose at all. As a matter of fact, Newsweek conducted a poll today. 44% of Hispanic respondents to the poll said that they disapprove of the protests. These are Hispanics now. While 39% say they approve of them, additional 17% were unsure of how they felt. I always wonder with those 17% if they have a pulse or not. Across all racial and ethnic groups, 45% disapprove, 36% approve of the protests, according to the poll, which surveyed 4,231 U.S. adults on June 9th of 2025. So we know that a close majority of Americans from a particular group disapprove of the behavior of these protests. We know that. So it's not doing the job that it was supposed to do. Nobody likes rioting. Nobody likes violence. Nobody likes fires. Nobody likes destruction. Nobody likes looting. It gets you nowhere. It gets you nowhere, and you didn't do your homework when you behave this way. The reason why the Indians during Gandhi's time beat the British without picking up a gun was because they showed how ignorant and stupid the British were. The whole world saw the Gandhi way of doing things. It was peaceful. It was they were protesting. They were making they were making their having their voice heard, and the British were just ignorant to the new way of the media world. They still are. They they still think they have an empire. They're just that delusional. Martin Luther King copied this method. Now, he was a little bit naughtier because he provoked the South, and he had help from friends too, because that was the civil rights movement was all a sham. But they made sure not to fight back. And when people on television, when Americans on television saw this, even if they don't like black people, even if they don't want black people in their neighborhoods, even if they never shook hands with a black person or came in contact with a black person, when you see people getting attacked by dogs, water hosed, beaten by billy clubs, especially if you're a Christian Catholic, you have remorse for that. You don't want that's not acceptable. You won't tolerate that. And it changed the way the country moved, unfortunately, because the civil rights movement and diversity destroyed this country. So the widespread movement will run counter to Trump's multi-million dollar military parade in DC. The U.S. military estimates that it'll cost between $25 to $45 million. Now, how much are these protests going to cost? Well, you follow the money to George Soros, and I can almost guarantee this will probably cost just as much, because you have to feed these people, you have to get these people over to these locations, you have to give them water, you have to give them signs, you have to have all their masks and helmets and goggles on because if there's tear gas. And so George is going to spend the money, and he's going to spend as much as he can until he can finally, before the day he goes to the last pit of circle of hell, before he leaves this earth, he wants to see this country fall. He wants to see all of Western civilization end. His son is, from what I hear, is even worse. But with the grace of God, let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that finally white Christian heterosexual males stand up, read some books, look at some podcasts, and think for themselves, come to the conclusion themselves that they're not going to stand this anymore. And they're not going to put up with this nonsense. They're not going to be afraid to be called a racist or anti-Semite or a homophobe, because it has gotten you nowhere by being afraid, by following the crowd. You don't ever want to follow the crowd, ever. It could lead you to disaster. The great story of the Pied Piper tells us that. You don't follow the Pied Piper, because he'll lead you to ruin. And unfortunately, white males do that. We fall for the cheap entertainment. We fall for football and baseball, the TV shows, the movies. We chase chicks, but we forget what our purpose is. we forget that we're supposed to lead, not follow. The world was led by the greatest people on earth at the time, and that was white Christian males. Look at the languages most people speak. Look at the religion most people observe. Look at most of the countries that are built around the world. They all follow the same Western philosophy. That doesn't happen by accident. Now, the question that I'm afraid to ask, and I'm afraid some of you might answer, is what's the long game in this? Is this a precursor to civil war? I mean, is this the seeds of a conflict that is coming? Nobody wants that, of course. Nobody ever wants to see a country rip itself apart. But how much of this stuff can one place take? I mean, the core principle of this country was to build a better life for everyone. Now, not everyone around the world. You have to remember America was the concept of America in the beginning was an expansion of Western Europe. It was for white Christian people, not for everybody. That's the but we expect all participants to well, the participants that are protesting, we expect them to be we expect violence, unfortunately. And sooner or later, somebody on the other side, somebody against these groups is going to stand up and hit back and fight back, and that's when it gets ugly. Now, the official partners of this No Kings deal will go as followed. Here are the groups that I have as of right now. So it's the 50501, whatever that is. Black Voters Matter. Well, what else is new? Common Defense.us, Declaration of American Democracy, Face the Music Collective, Fix Democracy First, Free Speech for People, Indivisible, National Action Network, that's Al Sharpton, People Power United, Public Citizen, Social Security Works, Stand Up America, The Beacon, Transformative Justice Coalition, Vote Save America USA, and here's the one that bothers me the most, American Federation of Teachers. If you're a teacher and you're caught at one of these protests and you're caught committing violence or violent acts or just any type of destruction, you should definitely lose your job, and you should most definitely lose any rights to your pension you have. You should never in this country be allowed near children if you're going to protests like this and to cause the damage that these protests are going to cause. Because if anybody thinks that these are just going to be, peaceful demonstrations, they're not. Los Angeles is not a peaceful demonstration. San Francisco, they surrounded a federal building with ICE agents in it. Not a peaceful demonstration. You don't need Marines and National Guard troops for peaceful demonstrations. And these are people that are following. These are people that have no core, no purpose, so they follow the crowd. And that's exactly what you don't want to do as a man, is follow the crowd. Because like the Pied Piper, like the children who suffered under his wrath, it will lead you to nothing but destruction. It's always about development, creating purpose, and that leads to you evolving as a man. We've said this a million times, and I'm going to keep saying it. What leads to true fulfillment is the moment when you stop living for others and start living for yourself. The people that will be involved in these protests have no life. They have no purpose. They never evolve. They're still stuck in a delusional world where they have to feel accepted. Otherwise, their life has no meaning. It's in that moment that your life begins to take on real meaning. Living authentically isn't easy. It's not for everyone. It takes courage to stand apart from the crowd. I know some of you don't like, may not like Jordan Peterson anymore, but he did an excellent study on, he did an excellent discussion about why people are afraid to stand out. And it's all about the zebra study. These, I think they were behaviorists or sociologists. They went out into the Serengeti and they saw these zebras, and the zebras all huddle up together because they know when the lions are trying to hunt them, so they don't want to stand out. So the experiment was where they put a red X on a zebra, and what happens to that zebra with the red X? He's the first one to get eaten. Why? Because he stood out. That's what a lot of us are afraid to do. A lot of us are afraid to stand out. It takes courage to trust your path. But when you do, you unlock a world of possibilities and you create the space to live a life that is uniquely yours. Your life is not defined by the opinions of others. It never has, it never will. But it's defined by your purpose. Following a crowd, you lose your authenticity. You lose who you are. When you choose to walk your path, you discover who you really are. And that makes you invincible. You can't be canceled. There's no such thing as being canceled when you're on your own path, when you are your own man, when you don't have to follow a crowd. You unlock potential that has always been inside you, creating the life you were always meant to live. You were born, we were all born to create the moment we entered this world. We were given the gift of individuality, a talent that was meant to shape our lives. We weren't placed on this earth to follow someone else's path. We weren't put on this earth to fit into molds that society has set for us. We were born to forge our own path. Every idea that has ever changed the world came from a guy who dared to create, not from somebody who copied what others had already done. The world doesn't need replicas. It needs original thought. The essence of life is about bringing forth something fresh, something new, something never seen before. And it's through this development and creation that you come alive. And by coming alive, I mean evolving. This is how you find your purpose. The temptation to copy is everywhere. Trust me. Look at the music industry. They retread things all the time. That's why music sucks today. There's not even music. We live in a world flooded with templates and instructions and examples of what's been done already, and we often find it easier following these patterns. It's easy to fall into this trap, but it robs you of your potential for greatness. When you copy, you forfeit your chances to tap into your creative mind and find your true purpose. You stop asking deeper questions, you take shortcuts, and in doing so, you ignore the real power that lies in the process of creating. And when you create, that's when the magic happens. It's where you discover your capabilities and your abilities to make a meaningful difference. Creating creating something new, it requires vulnerability. It's very, you're almost naked because you're putting yourself out there. It means that you have to step out of a comfort zone and embrace the uncertainty. And people are going to shit on you. People are going to mock you. People are going to talk about how how you lack talent or skill. Fuck it. Who cares? When you create, you put yourself and your ideas out there knowing that not everyone will understand, accept, or appreciate you or your ideas. But that's the price of greatness, right? The willingness to risk failure, to face criticism, and most importantly, to be imperfect, because being perfect is bullshit. It's a lie. None of us are perfect. Look at any great athlete, look at any great artist, look at any, forget about politician, look at any businessman, look at any inventor. They've all failed at one time or another. It's through that act of creating that you discover who you are and what you're capable of. And the world needs your originality because it's your personal touch that will bring real change. By taking ownership of your life, you're choosing to break free of the limitations society has imposed on you. But creating gives you a sense of fulfillment and purpose. And that's what a lot of these people are missing. The process of creating something that didn't exist before is liberating, but it's difficult. It forces you to think differently, to trust yourself and your ideas. Stop being a passive participant in your own life and become an active creator. This allows you the freedom to discover what truly matters to you. When you set your own rules, you follow your own instincts, you make decisions based on your truths, not the expectations of others. This is how you build from the ground up. Always start from the feet up. You learn lessons that can't be taught in any classroom. And with every step, every challenge, every mistake, every success, you learn something new about yourself. You learn about your abilities. You know what you're capable of, and you're proud of yourself. And when you develop these skills necessary to bring your ideas to life, you begin to see that failure isn't something to be feared, it's something that we learn from. We've been taught in this country, the educational system in this country is a disaster, and we've been taught that failure is final. It's not. Each setback becomes an opportunity to improve, a chance to refine your vision and a reminder that your true growth comes from embracing the unknown. When you limit your growth because you're not emerging in a full creative process, you're simply replicating something that's already been done. When you create, you open yourself up with endless possibilities and continuous development. The act of creation also brings a sense of purpose that copying can't. Now, I'm going to put some pressure on you all. The world is waiting for what only you can bring. The world needs your voice and vision. In a world that's full of noise and opinions and endless negativity, your perspective matters more than ever. You probably don't realize it now, but believe me, it does. And that's the memo. All right. So it's a Tuesday night, and I'm out here doing this again. And I'm telling you, that there's no. I have to basically pick and choose what type of content I want to do because this is crazy. I wanted to do the Moran ABC News anchor guy. I might do that tomorrow. He's been fired from ABC, which I used to be in the news business. But he's been fired, and I'm going to look more into that, and maybe I'll do something on that tomorrow. But for now, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Be careful out there, gentlemen. Be careful out there because Satan is always busy. He will be busy more and more this week, especially on that Saturday. God help us all. Be a man. Have a backbone. Walk your own path. Do not be a follower because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. We'll see you later.